Welcome to Pause for Peace, and welcome to the second Sunday of November 2025. November 9th is the date when we are releasing this podcast to you. I want to share today a story about a surprise that actually arrived for me in the United States Postal Mail. Many of us are never excited to get our mail if we even venture forth to actually pick up our mail, but I was pleasantly surprised just a few weeks ago when a package I had been waiting on for a while arrived. And it was a package that came to me from this beautiful, creative Fay Barratt, who I had learned of when I was in southern France at the Monastery of Saint Michel when I was on that beautiful Prayer of the Heart retreat. And I came in contact with Fay's work through this deck of cards that had a devotional book that went with it, and it was about Mary Magdalene and the women of the Bible, especially the women of those canonical gospels that are named but whose stories we often do not know. And Fay, in this call to help us know these women better and to actually have devotional inspiration from the lives of these women, she created these beautiful card decks. Now, let me say a word about decks. There's a lot of people out there who sell decks. And decks are really like a set of cards, not like playing cards like we would think of, like we might use for poker or things like that, but like cards that have images on them. And then often the creator of these cards or somebody in collaboration with somebody creating the cards will have a book that goes with it, like a small book that goes in the box with the card set that might tell you like how you could use these cards, and that actually might have like devotional words or informative words about each set of cards. And so Fay Barratt has created this beautiful card set. She's this beautiful English woman, and she's like diving deeper into the understanding of these women, especially from the canonical gospels. And she is like bringing forth these gems, not only in the physical representation she does with each card, but then also in the book that goes with these cards, in the informative words that she shares, and then in the imaginal kind of devoted sort of way she guides us into a way to use the card in a time of prayer. And when I was in southern France, I was exposed to these cards while I was in a workshop with Veronique Flail, and they were so beautiful, and I loved the card that I picked, and I loved the words that were read, and I wanted to actually be able to use these cards throughout my days when I was back home, and even find ways to share them with others so that we could like reclaim these women, many women that are written about in the New Testament. So when I opened this piece of mail, that this deck of cards finally arrived, about 4 or 6 weeks later, Fay had let me know through email that she was wanting to gift me with a print because it was taking a while before she'd be able to actually send out this card set that I had purchased. So when I opened this mail, I was like floored, because I opened the package and not only was there like one print, there were 2 prints. And I was like, wow, that's like amazing. Why would she even do that? That's like so generous and so committed to those who want to follow her work, that she would gift me in that way. And then I actually looked at the first print that I pulled out, and it was the print called The Liberated Soul. And I got one of those goosebump moments, because that was actually the card that I had pulled when I was in southern France and first exploring this deck of Fay Barratt's. It was The Liberated Soul was the card I pulled. And the words that I read there about the liberated soul were inspiring and really broadened my imagination and my thoughts about these women that were a part of the life of Jesus and were a part of the movement of the followers of the way of love. And I was just like floored that the liberated soul actually was gifted to me, and so much generosity in that. And if you're watching this podcast as a video cast, you can actually see behind me this beautiful print of the liberated soul. And if you're not watching, I will just tell you about it. The liberated soul is a glorious print that it's a little bit like kind of imaginative in some ways. You can feel a lot of flow in it. It doesn't necessarily have like incredibly defined like images of a face and a body, but it does have what clearly is like arms that are like moved up forth, and a body that is curved, and legs that are strong and connected to the ground. And it's in these purples and reds and pinks and whites, and there's a sense that this woman in this image is like dancing as if she's totally free. She's the liberated soul. There's just this glorious energy of this print. A bit of the story that Fay actually writes about, that she painted this with the character of the Bible in mind of Salome. And Salome is the daughter who is the one that is called upon on Herod's birthday to dance for him. And she's actually the daughter of Herod's wife, who Herod actually, out of lust, takes for himself his brother's wife. And Herodias and Herod have this union that John the Baptist is incredibly offended by, and is basically out there preaching that this is like anti-God. And so Herodias is furious about this happening. And so when this event of Herod's birthday comes forth, and her daughter is the one to dance, like her grown daughter is the one to dance before the king and all of his guests. And Herodias, the story is that Herodias like coaches her that when you so please the king in front of all of these people, when you so please Herod, that you are to ask for the head of John the Baptist on a platter. And so Herodias like engages her daughter, who is dancing as a liberated soul, who is dancing free, but like stuck in this web of hatred and bitterness and conniving evil, really. And so she is like stuck up in this situation that her mother and her father, her stepfather, are putting her in, so that her dance so pleases Herod, and she goes forth and asks for the head of John the Baptist on a platter. So John the Baptist is beheaded because of Salome's dance. And the story, the way that Fay speaks about it in her deck of these stories of the women of the New Testament, she actually wonders if Salome, who has a name in the Bible that is spelt the same way as Mary Salome, who is somebody known in the provincial tradition of southern France, and somebody who is named in the Bible as being present either like every step of the way with Mary the Magdalene, or just at certain steps of the way with Mary the Magdalene as she is at the crucifixion, the burial, and the resurrection. And Mary Salome is somebody who is a part of that, like those scenes from Jesus' life, and this work of Jesus becoming the liberated soul and liberating all souls by what he does. And Fay actually wonders if Salome and Salome might actually be the same woman. Now, I personally don't agree that that is the case. However, it's very intriguing to wonder, as Fay does in her book, of what kind of complete transformation may have taken place in the life of that woman who's like this daughter caught up in her mother and her stepfather's like bad behavior. how much is it possible that she actually becomes this liberated soul who is a part of the story of Jesus' crucifixion, burial, and resurrection? That Salome and Salome might actually be the same woman, the liberated soul, because of this transformation that takes place. So whether or not you agree with what Fay is putting forth there, it's a fascinating thing to think about the way that change and transition takes place in our own lives and how our own souls become liberated. We can be caught up in that conniving, kind of hateful, bitter, seething anger as well. We can be those who fail to dance and who fail to use our body as this vehicle for beauty and for grace and for transformation in the world. We can be those who fail to use our body in that way. We can be those who never sing our song, never dance our dance, never become who we are to become, because we are drugged back by circumstances that happen and by our ego asphyxiation with those circumstances. And to think about the ability to become liberated from all that, to literally do this work, this hard work of meditation, this hard work of grounding ourselves, of bringing our consciousness back through our breath when we are in the middle of circumstances going on in our lives where we would rather just walk away or explode in anger or be completely apathetic to what's going on and have nothing whatsoever to do with it. We have the opportunity through this practice of the prayer of the heart to be able to become a little more free here and now. This is part of this beautiful message of the liberated soul, that we have the power to be transformed. In the epistles of the Apostle Paul, he actually writes, and we often in English have mistranslated the words that are being used there, but he writes, be transformed by the renewing of your nous, is the actual word that's used in Greek. And the nous actually is the spiritual eye of the heart. Unfortunately, in English, it gets translated as the mind. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind, which I have always wondered, how do you do that? But to take that word in its actual original meaning, the nous, this spiritual eye, or this this heart space that is within us, to be transformed by the renewing of your heart space, by the opening of this beautiful energy of unconditional love that is within us. This is the way that we can become the liberated soul, that we can become free. So I'm going to invite you right now to get yourself comfortable wherever you are, and let's practice this prayer of the heart that will allow us to be a little less caught up in these powers that arise in us, these ways we end up almost getting possessed by things like our wrath and things like our sloth and things like our craving and things even like our apathy, our checking out of having any sort of empathy for what's going on in the world. So let's get ourselves settled. If you can make sure you're well grounded into the earth, through your feet being connected, the soles of your feet connected firmly to the physical plane that is under you, be it a concrete floor or a wooden floor or the very green grass underneath you. Maybe it's a sandy beach you're on somewhere. Let's take a deep breath from our belly. And begin to open our heart space, the center in the middle of our chest. We can awaken this energy as we drop from our crazy monkey mind further into the being of our heart. We might even imagine like the energy of our heart opening up, spreading, so that we can sit in a time of quiet. And through the heart, listen to this spark of divine that is within, to this glorious Spirit of God that is within us, to listen, so that we will know how we can be today a liberated soul. In other words, we're asking the Spirit of God within us, how can we be free? How can our soul, which is this beautiful aspect of the divine that lives within, as Thomas Merton says, the nothingness of God that is within, this nous, how can this soul be liberated in such a way that this purity of love shines through us? That this expanse of graciousness exudes through us. How can we be free? How can our soul be liberated today? So take a deep breath and settle into a bit of quiet through the heart as you listen, as you pay attention, as you notice, as you see how you can be a liberated soul today. Bring yourself back with your breath if you're pulled off center, or if the monkey mind begins to swirl. Bring yourself back to the center with that deep breath, entering once again the space of your heart, knowing that this is the eye of spiritual perception. This is like a tool that God has given us, each one of us, that is right there in us, with us, all the time. This beautiful wisdom, like ready to greet us whenever we tune in and ask. Let's take one more deep breath. Hold it just a moment at the top before you release it. For whatever has been revealed to you, if you will inwardly give thanks. When you're ready, I invite you to another deep breath. And release. And as you release, if your eyes have been closed, you can open those. Return to this present moment. and find a way to capture what you have experienced. Perhaps you have, like, I literally felt my body wanting to move in that direction of the liberated soul. And so for me, that's that like reminder, like, how do I be the liberated soul? I like move. I like stop sitting around and get up and actually move my body, like move away from the computer for a little while and actually move my body and allow my soul to just move me for just a little bit. Perhaps you saw something like that. Maybe you heard something. You might have even like had a taste or a smell come to you. Anything that has happened for you, anything that's been revealed in the stillness. If you'll take a moment, maybe like jot that down, find a way to bring that into like your everyday life so that you can be guided into being a liberated soul each and every day of your life. Thanks so much for joining me for this Pause for Peace, for committing to be somebody who pauses, to create that column of peace within, to really tap into that and allow that to emanate forth into the world. Because you pause for peace, you actually become more of a liberated soul each and every day. Have a wonderful week, and we'll catch you next time.